guys, I'm Lexi Cardoza, the creator and host of PeppTalks, and I'm so excited to finally share with you guys what I've been working on, something that I'm extremely proud of and really so passionate about. I created PeppTalks during a very uncomfortable and transitional time in my life, a time where I felt like I finally kind of got to the point where I was kind of ready to share my story, ready to really embrace myself and kind of take others along on that journey with me. I spent a lot of my life living in my comfort zone, really scared to ever step out of it. I also spent a lot of my life very ashamed of the person that I was, ashamed of who my family was, and just ashamed of my life in general. I grew up in a home with an addict, which was a very difficult experience. He was extremely abusive towards my mother, and kind of growing up seeing love be shown that way really kind of changed my perspective and kind of just changed the way I really view everything. I was also extremely kind of ashamed of having an addict for a father, having to constantly be, staying in hotels or having the police called because of the way he treated us, and it was something that I never wanted to tell people because I never wanted them to view me differently, to think of me differently, or to really criticize me. So because of that, I really kind of spent my entire life bottling these things up, internalizing them, and kind of putting on this facade of I'm the perfect girl with the perfect life and the perfect family. And there were a few really big turning points in my life that I feel like really changed the way I viewed myself, the way I viewed my past. And one of those was when I studied abroad in London. That was for me a huge year of growth, a huge year of really discovering the person that I was. I had a really good friend at the time who really kind of gave me the courage to share what I was going through. She was the first person I really ever confided in with any of this. And then we had another great program, Life Stories, that gave me the opportunity to kind of share my story for the first time in a very safe place. And I think for me, that was the most important thing. I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to turn all of this pain and hurt into something beautiful, into something that will really help me grow, but also can help all of the people around me. And when I did that, everything changed. I spent so much time just being alone, and I finally learned to be comfortable in my own skin, which for me was the best thing that could have possibly ever happened. I felt like through kind of finding myself, I really found my purpose, which I feel like fueled my passion, and at the end of the day, it activated my superpowers. And now I'm here, I created PeppTalks. It's something that I honestly love more than anything, something that I enjoy. This is who I am now. I lived with an alcoholic, I live with mental illness, I lived in a shelter for people escaping domestic violence, but I survived. And I'm Lexi Cardoza, the creator and host of PeppTalks, where we turn our pain into our superpower. Hey guys, welcome to the very first episode of PeppTalks. I'm your host, Lexi Cardoza, and I am so excited to be here. It's a beautiful and extremely bright day in Malibu, and I am joined by three lovely people, Olivia, Brandon, and Heaven. Thank you guys so much for being here with me today. Get ready to talk about how you feel, but first, you're gonna take a pep quiz so we can get to know you a little better. Best midnight snack?
Dried pineapples.
Ice cream.
Pistachio ice cream. Favorite color?
Ooh, shiny royal blue.
Okay. Green.
Black. How would your best friend describe you in 3 words?
Crazy, insightful,
Back to what Olivia
maybe hungry. So stay hungry.
said. Crazy, funny, and loyal.
Those are good. I would say goofy, honest, and wise.
And lastly, my favorite question of them all, what is the one thing that you love the most about yourself?
I love my ability to consider various perspectives and to relate to multiple people.
I would definitely say my self-confidence.
I would definitely say my mind.
Well, I'm so excited to have you all here. Welcome to my outdoor living room. It's a beautiful day. PeppTalks is really all about creating change through conversation. And we're here to really talk about how we feel. So why are we so scared to feel? And more importantly, why are we so scared to really talk about how we feel?
I would say I think we're afraid that no one's gonna care if we open up to people. I think a lot of people are afraid to be vulnerable because they don't want to feel as if they're giving so much of themselves and sharing so much, and it's not being reciprocated.
I feel like they don't want to turn off their friends from just being their friends. They need to be like the coolest person in the room. They need to seem like they have it all together and it's just perfect and it'll work out and everything's so positive. So they don't want to give people that perspective.
So often we're too busy and involved with so many outside things that we lack a moment to take the introspection and really consider how we truly feel. We'll be going about our day doing our normal routine and things are going normal, but how do we interpret that into what we're going on? And I think oftentimes we're not even cognizant for ourselves how we feel. And when we are, we often realize the busyness of other people and don't want to place that onto them in having a conversation. It's hard to have a moment to get to that point in a conversation where you can actually be that vulnerable, especially given that so much of our time is hi and bye, see you later. Whereas getting to that point where you can say how you feel takes a few moments.
What do I do now? I feel like a lot of the times we're going through life, we're dealing with all of these different things, and we don't take the time to really stop and understand that feeling ourselves. And if we don't understand it ourselves, how can we possibly actually tell somebody else how you feel?
I think for me, I'm like one of those people who really just hate asking for help or hate talking to people about what I'm going through. So I just push it down and try to get to the next thing, but then it just comes back up more and more. And I think growing and being in college and being your own, I really found the time to just zone in on what I'm feeling and what I'm going through and just processing that first before it gets to a whole new level of just going through it.
There's been times in your lives when you guys have kind of not talked about how you felt, and how did that affect you later?
I think realizing how we feel doesn't always add up with the image of who we are to other people. And so in considering that a lot of times we want to fit that image instead of realizing, oh, I can be a person who feels sad as well. Oh, I can be a person who's frustrated with things. It has to do with who's in your circle, If people in your circle aren't accessible, you're not going to share that.
And I feel like a lot of that has to do with understanding who the person is. You don't even have to understand what they're going through, but to know who the person is and how to be there for them in those certain situations, I think is the number one thing.
I feel like going back to what Olivia said, it depends on who's really in your circle, because I feel especially at Pepperdine when you tell how you're feeling or something, people try to compete with you and try to tell you a sadder story or tell you something that's worse happened, just so your story doesn't sound too terrible. They're oh, you can get over that, it's gonna be fine because I went through this last year and it was so terrible. And I just feel going back to what Heaven said, it's just about how people listen.
I have a story. Came back to Malibu, and me and Heaven were moving in together. We were friends before, but we hadn't grown as close yet. And on the first night we were moving in, we were glad to be back from abroad, glad to see our friends again, and then I get a call that my grandma had died. And at that point, I'd experienced a lot of life, but I hadn't really known how to grieve properly. And I think that those are the times that really show who your true people are in your circle, but also those are the places that you're allowed to truly express what you need to express during those hard times and actually see how you're feeling, but also allow other people to feel that with you.
I feel another thing I think that's really big too is the whole concept of it's okay to not be okay.
My freshman year, second semester, I had came out to the world, and it's I just was going through a lot of different emotions I've never felt before, and the feeling of feeling vulnerable was just very new to me. To have it on a wide scale and to feel every day, I was I don't know how I'm gonna get through this. But I think through growing and through reflecting and just deciding what I liked or deciding who Brandon is, through that, then it helped me.
And I feel you can't feel the good without feeling the bad.
I agree. You definitely are, I think, hidden on the importance of balance. You can be there for people, but just as much as you're there for people, you need to be there for yourself. Learn how to say no when it's appropriate to say no, when it's appropriate to say yes. And then also knowing that, you mentioned, happiness should not always be the end goal, because sometimes that can kind of force people to give off this facade of happiness, which something that I think we do at Pepperdine very often. And I think that there is a difference between having happiness and having joy. Happiness is not always attainable, but joy is.
You're more than your label. Like, you would have 50,000 labels, because everything that you go through, everything that you are, it's just, I feel like it's who makes you you.
I think a lot of people keep like stories like hidden inside just because you don't want to be labeled as like broken or like damaged or like just like not like always going through something, you know? Like sometimes it's just like you're just having a rough go and like you just have things that just happen over and over again and you just don't want to be labeled as a person always going through something.
I think also considering how like we as intakers of information about people need to also take it with a grain of salt, how like we can look at this person but also recognize that we're only getting a portion of the story. We're getting like a preview, but there's a whole film, you know, going on in the
Exactly,
background.
yes.
We don't know the plot twists that have gone on. We don't know what's going to come after the credits. We don't know who's really the hero in their story.
Exactly. Well, thank you guys so much for being here and being so open with me. And to end this in proper Pep Talks fashion, I just want you to give your best pep talk, just to make somebody's day through your words.
So I hope you're having a great day, and if you're not, it's going to get better. You are created to do wonderful things and to do hard things, so I really hope that you have an outlook that empowers you to push through today and to be your best self and to be the version that tomorrow you're going to thank yourself for.
It is okay not to be okay. Like you have to go through your roughest and your lowest of lows to get to your highest of highs and to be the best person that you believe that you can be. And at the end of the day, that's all you can do. So do not let any of the outside stuff cloud your judgment or cloud your happiness.
Embrace the uncomfortable. Life may be hard and situations are going to be difficult, but embrace it. Be courageous, be brave in telling people how you feel, and embrace being vulnerable. It definitely will help you in the end run, and you'll be able to help other people, which I think is a part of our purpose on this earth, is to be able to help people and glorify God.
Well, you guys are amazing. Thank you again so much for being here. And Pep Talks community, thank you so much for watching our first episode, and we look forward to having you watch the rest. Thank you.
And cut.
It's a wrap.